Hello everybody and welcome to the next race review in the 2023 British Touring Car Championship. I am your host Viper. Normally I have Ben with me, unfortunately he's on holiday. However, we will be getting his take on the Race 2 stuff as we usually do. And also his thoughts on the, his winners from the weekend as well. But before we get going, I just want to quickly mention one or two things. First and foremost, don't forget, if you want to catch any of our previous race reviews, they will be in the playlist that's always in the description if you want to find the rest of them there, as well as any other videos that we put out during the 2023 season. Now, we have just gone into the summer break with this, so it means that this is going to be the last race for about a month, and then we return at Croft at the end of July. But moving into Oulton Park though, so this weekend was all about tyre management because we had two tyres available to us, which were the option tyre, the soft tyre and the hard tyre, the primes essentially, and obviously like the inters as well for wet weather, or the wets should I say. But for this one it was a case of them two sets, you had to make sure you knew when to push, when to use a new set, etc. So we're going to jump into qualifying. So qualifying was an interesting one. We had an interesting start to qualifying as Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton went head-to-head for pole position in the first part. After about 10 minutes though, we had Will Powell go off, which brought out the red flags. Track limits were the order of the day, similar to a Thruxton, as several cars lost laps due to exceeding track limits, which wasn't great. However, once racing did get underway, or should I say qualifying got underway, it was a pretty mad dash to get everyone get a lap in. Now it's worth noting that this was the second or third time I think it is this season that we've had the top 10 showdown. So obviously the top 10 showdown, for those who don't know, top 10 qualifiers from the first part of qualifying go into the second part, and then they have a shootout, and whoever gets pole in that one is the actual pole position holder, so to speak. So we had another top 10 showdown, and once again it was Ash Sutton who showed his pace when he needed to. He did a 1:24.832, which originally put him 6 tenths ahead of second. However, as the track got quicker and the competition came knocking on his door, it ended up closing to about 2 tenths as Jake Hill and Ricky Collard put in some great performances. So in the end, it was Ash Sutton who was on pole, like I said, 1:24.832. And Jake Hill in second, who was 2 and a bit tenths back, and Ricky Collard in third, who was about 4 tenths, nearly 5 tenths back in third. Moving into race 1 though, we had a great start by Jake Hill to take the lead from Ash Sutton into the first corner. Sutton came back at Hill into the old hairpin later in the lap, but he couldn't find a way past the BMW. Later in the lap we heard that Rory Butcher got a 5-second penalty for a false start, which wasn't great for his race. By the end of lap 1, we saw Tom Ingram beat Dan Camish into turn 1, and we saw Sutton trying again to take the lead from Hill, but Hill, like the first time, wasn't having any of it, and despite some bashed wing mirrors between the two of them, Hill managed to stay in the lead. Colin Turkington, who was thrown out of qualifying for failure to provide a sufficient fuel sample and started 27th in this race, was up to 17th by the time lap 3 came to an end. He was quickly up to 16th after getting past Aidan Moffat, who himself was on the hard tyre this race and unfortunately suffered quite badly. On lap 5 we saw Tom Ingram move up into the podium place after getting past Collard, who was putting on a great defensive drive. Aaron Taylor-Smith had to defend for Adam Morgan, but whilst that was going on, Jelly put a move on Morgan into the Knickerbrook chicane on lap 6. We had Ronan Pearson and Aidan Moffat nearly come together at the old hairpin on lap 8, but luckily Ronan Pearson took avoiding action and unfortunately lost a few places because of that. At the start of lap 9, we saw the BMWs of Morgan and Jelly swap places again, this time the other way around into turn 1. The action didn't stop there, as further back there was a 3-way scrap for 19th place as we saw Moffat, Butel and Will Powell all fighting for position at turn 1 as well. Rory Butcher went wide out of the Knickerbrook complex and dropped several places down to 15th, also on that same lap. On lap 10, it was all kicking off as Morgan gave Aaron Taylor-Smith a small nudge at the old hairpin to move past him into 8th place, with Jelly and Turkington, who by this point in the race was up to 11th, right in the mix and ready to pounce at any given moment. Aidan Moffat had a bad race with the hard tyres. He dropped down to 22nd place by lap 11 after Aidan Pearson managed to get past him. Turkington, meanwhile, made up 2 places in a matter of corners as he drove around the outside of Stephen Jelly into turn 1, then took Aaron Taylor-Smith at the old hairpin. In the final laps, the final 2 laps in particular, we saw a die-hard overtake by Dan Rowbottom on Aaron Taylor-Smith, which completely destroyed both of their cars and races. I don't know what Dan Rowbottom was thinking, but that happened on the second to last lap, which was a bit of a shame. However, up at the front, it was Jake Hill, who never looked in doubt to win, and crossed the line to open his win tally for the season for himself, with Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram rounding out the podium places. So your race 1 results were Jake Hill with the fastest lap was also your race winner, Ash Sutton second ahead of Tom Ingram in third, then we had Ricky Collard in 4th, Dan Cavish in 5th, Josh Cutt 6th, Bobby Thompson in 7th, Adam Morgan in 8th, Colin Turkington in 9th, and Stephen Jelly to round out the top 10. I'm going to hand it over to Ben for race 2, and when we come back we'll run through race 3.
So it was announced before the race it was the 250th race for Josh Cook, which is really nice to see. It's been around a long time and it was good to see something going on like that. Great for him. So yeah, and moving on to the race, at the start of the race we had Jake Hill on pole with Sutton in second looking ready to pounce and ready to go. At the start of the race we had a brilliant start from Hill, with Ingram getting close to trying to pass Sutton and trying to make a few moves, but nothing much seemed to happen just yet. It seemed to be a 1-2-3 going on. Thompson then suddenly goes off into the gravel, but managed to just keep it through, keeps off the gravel in the end after he got bounced back off it, and he keeps on the road. Jade Edwards gets spun by the chicane and she manages to luckily just save it with a car and carry on through, and nothing happened just yet, no safety car needed, she kept going. Stephen Jelly was given a penalty for a false start. This was announced on lap 2. You could see that on the grid. His car moved forwards and he moved out of starting position. It was quite obvious to see. And then on lap 3, Thompson has his front tyre hanging off, and you could see that it was really bad. He got it back into the pits behind the back of everyone, and no cause for an issue. He managed to start holding up the race or causing a safety car. On lap 4, Will Powell is off into the gravel, and this does bring out the safety car because his car is embedded. On lap 7, the race is finally back underway. Hill got a really good start and he gained a lot of time on everyone. You could see there's a big gap behind him. On lap 8, Adam Morgan went wide trying to overtake Chilton, and he had a really good battle with him, getting past and gaining a few good places. It was nice to see. On lap 11, Turkington goes through on Collard to gain 4th with a nice clean setup, and he gets straight past him. On lap 12, Hill has a great lead with Ingram attacking Sutton as he defends. This is nice to see as well. On lap 13, Camish bounces past Collard, pushing him out wide with a tap and as he was going up on the inside. On lap 13, Turkington is caught up to the back of Ingram and is right near third now at this point, as Ingram was close to Sutton, so this gives Sutton a bit of breathing room as Ingram is now defending Turkington. As Jelly has a spin going off at the chicane. On lap 16, Ingram is defending as Turkington tries to get past for third. He taps the back of Ingram as Ingram brake checks him, and this causes the front of his bonnet to be pinched where they said his driver's side. As Ingram brake checked him, that all happened. Last lap, Hill gets a win with a great race. Brilliant to see, and what a great race. Over to Brad for who got first to 10th in this race. I was just managed to record this before I went on holiday. I will say for the weekend that I thought Turkington did really well, and Hill. They would be my go-tos for the weekend.
Okay, thanks for that one, Ben. Just to run through the race 2 results, the race 2 winner was Jake Hill, who took the fastest lap. Ash Sutton was second, out of Tom Ingram in third. Colin Turkington in fourth, out of Josh Cook in fifth. Then we had Dan Camish in sixth, Adam Morgan in seventh, Dan Lloyd in eighth, Ricky Collard in ninth, and Rory Butt to round out the top 10. So that was your race 2 results. Moving into the final race in race 3. Now, before the race started, we heard that Josh Cook got a 3-place grid drop, meaning he'd start down in 6th rather than 3rd because of the reversed grid, and wherever he started he got a 3-place grid penalty. It was a great start by all of the BMWs as Morgan and Turkington led away into the lead. Turkington managing to sneak his way past second place, which I believe was Dan Camish. However, the biggest shock came moments later as Ash Sutton was put against the wall by Ingram. Presumably, the gap was never there in the first place, and he broke his front right wheel and, not to be outdone, got punted up the backside by Josh Cook, which put him out within a few metres of the start. Later, it was confirmed that even though Ash was against the wall, the gap was never there, and he broke the drive shaft as well. So it wasn't just a case of breaking a front right wheel, the drive shaft supposedly broke, which went with the suspension, and yeah. With Sutton out at the side of the track, it brought out the safety car. However, that caused pandemonium as the boards were late to go out, meaning that everyone was still racing at the start-finish line up until the very end of the lap, and everyone had to slam the brakes at the last minute. Luckily, nobody crashed into each other, but it was pretty crazy to watch. Once the safety car came in on lap 5, we saw Aidan Moffat charging after Tom Chilton as he was on the faster tyre. Butcher was lucky as he went off into the Knickerbrook chicane. It looked like he had no brakes, but he did manage to rejoin safely and carry on the rest of the race. Lap 6, however, was the money shot as Colin Turkington took on Adam Morgan for the lead, with Jake Hill also getting involved, and in a matter of seconds, Turkington and Hill were into the lead and second place respectively, and Morgan had dropped down to third. There was a bit of argy-bargy between them, but they all managed to keep it about as clean as they could. No one got taken out. There was no, wrecked cars completely. There was a slight bit of scraping and damage, but nothing too dramatic, so that was all good. I'm sure something that Dick Bennett would have been going, phew. On the same lap, we saw Dan Rowbottom get past 4 cars to move from 18th into 14th place. Meanwhile, Moffat moved out of Collard for 7th on lap 8, meaning he took all 3 Toyotas in the space of 2 laps. Lap 12 saw a contact between Patterson and Aaron Taylor-Smith as they battled for position, which dropped them down the order. All eyes were on the battle at the front, as it was now Hill versus Turkington to see who would prevail in the battle of the rear-wheel drive BMWs. Despite having the least amount of hybrid though, Jake Hill did manage to do a great job keeping up with Turkington during this race, it must be said. On lap 17, we saw a 3-way scrap between Chilton, Jellett and Osborne all fighting out for 12th place, with them going 3 wide down into the old hairpin, literally side by side. And what prevailed was Chilton, who was ahead of Jellett and Osborne, which in turn saw Osborne nearly rip off his front splitter. And to make things even more dramatic, Bobby Thompson then got involved, and after having a bit of, again, I'll use the word argy-bargy, with Sam Osborne, he damaged his rear suspension and put himself out of the race. However, up at the front, it was a BMW 1-2-3 for the first time in quite a few years, as Colin Turkington won the final race of the day with Jake Hill and Anna Morgan following him home to complete a all BMW podium. It was Colin Turkington's 65th BTCC win and his 11th at Oulton Park. So your race 3 results. Your winner is obviously Colin Turkington ahead of Jake Hill in second, who also managed to snag another fastest lap, with Adam Morgan rounding out the podium. Then we had Tom Ingram in 4th, Dan Camish in 5th, Aidan Moffat in 6th, Josh Cook in 7th, Dan Rowbottom in 8th, Ricky Collard in 9th, and Rory Butcher to round out the top 10. So what does that do to the driver standings? Well, unsurprisingly, with Ash Sutton going out in that last race, it meant that the title fight comes a lot closer, with Sutton leading the way on 218 points, only 6 points ahead of Tom Ingram in second. Jake Hill now is only 20 points behind Ingram, meaning it's all to play for with him. Don't count out Colin Turkington though, who's on 183, so he's not far behind Hill either. Then we've got Dan Camish in 5th, we have who has a neat buffer over Josh Cook in 6th. Then there's a fight between Cook and Morgan, with 2 points separating the two for 6th and 7th. Rowbottom and Butcher have the same on 103 and 102 points, respectively, with Ricky Collard on 90 points rounding out the top 10. Now, we've heard Ben's winners from the weekend. My personal thoughts, after being there in person as well, personally for me, the winners I think are quite obvious. BMW as a whole, especially Jake Hill and Colin Turkington. Turkington did really well to come back from, I suppose this is what the reverse grid shows, but the fact that he was dead last, at the start of race 1, come back to win race 3, and obviously, Jake Hill 2 wins, a second, 3 fastest laps, a good haul of points, plus one of the leading championship contenders going out as well, so he can really close up. And also a mention for Tom Ingram, because he managed to close the lead on Sutton. Granted, I don't think it's the way he or Sutton would have wanted it to happen, but at the end of the day, this is touring cars and anything can happen. So going into the summer break, yeah, it's all to play for the second half of the season. I'm quite excited now because I think, to be honest, one thing that I was thinking about was Oulton Park is very much Sutton's Achilles heel, and it proved it. I think I jinxed it by saying, would the dominance continue at the last one, so who knows what will happen when we get to Croft in a month's time. But on that note, what are your thoughts on this weekend's racing at Oulton Park? Were you there? If you were, did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? Let us know in the comments section below. From myself and from Ben, wherever he is on holiday, thank you very much for watching. As always, thank you for all your continued support, and we'll see you guys in about a month's time for the next touring car race review, which will be at the Croft circuit in North Yorkshire. Until then, thank you for watching, and of course, as always, ta-ra.